Hello and welcome to the VADSBC show live. We're live coming to you again. Woo, ready to get started. Got my partner back, Aaron. Things are just beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Aaron is back. How you doing, Aaron?
Hey, I am good. I am good. Enjoying the sunshine and the breeze. I'm well.
You're well. A storm can't keep you down. A snowstorm, a Hurricane Ida, it doesn't matter. You are back, and we're so happy to see that you're back. And it's just good. And of course, all you folks that are out there that have tuned in to listen to us, whether you're listening to a podcast that's already been out there for a while, or you're just hearing it for the first time, you just see this excitement on my face because I'm so happy to see that Aaron is back, my co-host, who is a Louisiana Democratic Small Business Caucus interim chair. So beautiful having you back, Aaron. Love it.
Glad to be back. How are you, Mark?
Oh, yeah, yes. We're ready to get busy here. Ready to get busy. Oh, yeah. We'd have already hit our intro music. We gave him a little bit of Bob. Bob was so good. You almost want to hear it twice. Woo. Oh, here you go. Could you be loved? Let's do it, right? Aaron from Louisiana, Baton Rouge, back at us doing what she does. And folks, we're glad to have you back on the VADSBC show live. And we're here because we got a fantastic guest for you today. Always have good guests. There's just great folks all over the country, great Democrats all over the country. And you know what? If you're a small business owner, if you're a Democrat, if you're a soon-to-be small business owner, fantastic. We're just glad to have you today. Because you know what? What today is, Aaron, do I have to tell them? It's Woke Wednesday. That's right. You need to be woke on Wednesdays because this is why we're here to tell you, wake up. We got stuff for you to do. Don't be sleepwalking. You got to get into it and get involved. You got to get things done. Aaron, it's Woke Wednesday, ain't it?
It's Woke Wednesday. They better wake up.
They better wake up
and take their rightful place and take action. It is Woke Wednesday. And Mark is going to bring it to y'all today.
I'm going to bring it to you. They got people plotting and planning, and we out here, we're here for it. That's right. You plotting and planning. We're here to make sure that you know what to do to make sure that your vote counts and that you stay with it. But before we always get started, we always try to do one thing. You know what that is? We tell people first. And I'm not going to introduce you this time because people kind of know who you are now. They've seen you. I'm just going to go back into this COVID thing. People, please get vaccinated. Keep yourself social distance. And if you have loved ones who haven't been vaccinated, please hurry up and get them vaccinated or try to convince them. I come on this show every week, once a week, and just say it's a real thing. We're up past what happened in the early 1900s. We've succeeded that with all of our technology, with all of our know-how. There are more people dying from COVID that died from the last pandemic. So we've got to get this thing together. And I'm just praying for you. I'm telling you, we love you here. And we want you to go ahead. When you feel it's right, get it done. I think it's right now. Make sure you're talking to people and making sure that they get vaccinated, or at least you're protecting yourself, wearing your mask, doing your social distancing, doing what you need to keep you and your family safe, because we want to make sure that you're back here every week, once a week. You can't vote if you're not here. Your family can't vote if you're not here. But most of all, you can't be here for the people that love you. So you have got to take care of yourselves, and we want to make sure that you do. So I'm telling you, my feeling is, get the shot. I've had the 2 shots, the Pfizer shots. I'm still here and doing what I need to do. Aaron, you got anything to add to that?
Hey, listen, I was going to say, for those that choose not to mask up, not to get the vaccine, to mask up. And like you said, take care of yourself, protect yourself, because I believe that people, they can make their own choices and decisions, right? So we just need to be responsible adults to protect ourselves and also be considerate about those around us. So, yeah.
Because we love you and we want you and your loved ones to be here. That's all. Enough said on that. You can never say too much, but we're gonna speak on it every week and keep you in prayer, everybody. Okay, let's go to the next thing that we always go to in the show, Aaron. And we were a little bit ahead of time because we didn't let you talk about Baton Rouge or talk about the Louisiana Democratic Small Business Caucus. I don't know whether or not you want to say anything about it before we get started, if there's been any changes, because I know down in Louisiana there have been some challenges, right? So
yeah, certainly we are, in this place in recovery from Ida. So the great work continues. We are persevering and working to recover, and still, working with small businesses, helping them to understand the opportunities that are available due to the impacts of the disaster for those that were impacted. SBA has resources, and also the local urban leagues, organizations of that nature, and the commerce have resources for us. So, the work continues. But let's move right on into the next phase of this conversation.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad to know the power's back on in Baton Rouge for the most part, folks, and they're still trying to get it all on in New Orleans and other places. So in prayer and best wishes, we're doing what we can. I'm going to talk about one other thing too, that that's on my heart too. There was some fantastically ridiculous, if fantastically is a word, but ridiculous things that I saw down on the border in Texas with the Haitians. As you know, I'm of Haitian descent. My great grandparents are Haitian. My folks are from New Orleans, and I don't care who you are, but nobody needs to be treated in the way those people were treated down there. And people on horseback, running horses into people, or trying to hit them with leather straps or whatever they had. It's just ridiculous. That's not something I think the country should be doing. And the good news about it is that you did have the president addressed it. And we also had a special session today that the Black Caucus convened with other congressmen to address this issue. I don't know what the outcome was that earlier, but I know it did occur. And I think that's just one of the things that's important, why your voting is important, having the right sort of people in office and having the right sort of representatives down there that basically can address issues of that concern from a federal perspective. But also there's a local congressman that down there that happened in his district. It was Republican, but if we get Democrats in there, obviously we can hopefully help to prevent things like that. So more news on that later. I don't know whether you heard anything about that, Aaron. That's usually outside our bailiwick, but it was a terrible thing, right?
Yes, I've heard about it. I've read about it, and we share the very same sentiments about it. People, should not be treated like that. And I am too glad that it has been addressed. I do plan to, see what the outcomes were from those meetings, but certainly we've got to do better. We've got to do better.
We got to do a lot better than that. I don't think that helps the country whatsoever. Let me go to the next thing, but we will follow up on that and just give people some insight to whatever we hear about that. The next thing we're going to talk about is about voting rights. My favorite subject. I actually didn't wear my voting rights t-shirt today, but I thought about it hard. I said, well, I got to wash it. So I can't, but voting rights are foundational, right? Voting rights are foundational in this country. If you don't have voting rights, you don't have anything. And there's two bills that are out there, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which is H.R. 4, and the For the People Act, which is H.R. 1. First, let's talk a little bit about the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. There's obviously that's been voted out of the Congress and the House of Representatives. Let me just be specific. The House of Representatives, and it was in the Senate. Both of these bills actually were voted out of the House of Representatives and were in the Senate. There was no movement on H.R. 1, but there was movement on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which basically, if folks have not been keeping up with it, basically the Voting Rights Act really deals with the pre-clearance concerns, really putting the pre-clearance out there, which means that if there's any changes that are going to happen to any sort of voting, anything has to do with voting in this country, that they need to have pre-clearance by the Department of Justice. For things they're saying, no voting rules, any declaration of voting rules that are going to be changed before 180 days before an election can't be done, or it has to be done prior to 180 days. Also, it's addressing modernizing the Voting Rights Act formula, determining discrimination in states and in localities. And also, it's also giving government more authority to send federal observers in order to make sure that jurisdictions are doing what they're supposed to do and there's no discrimination. Basically, the Voting Rights Act was gutted back in 2013, and we need to make sure that all those sort of concerns and things happen all across the country. Why is this important? It is important for these reasons. In the past, a lot of people were not around. When you dealt with voting rights, you had to, people went in to try to vote, and they would have different rules in different states that would make people do different things in order to make sure voting rights, they were able to vote, like counting the number of beans in a jelly jar, or bubbles on a soap, or reciting the Constitution, just all kind of ridiculous things. All those things are known as voter suppression. Voter suppression is what the 40-some states around the country are doing right now, passing a litany of different sort of laws that make it difficult for people to vote, closing voting locations in largely heavily densely populated areas, which forces people to have to wait around to vote for hours, or saying you can't take souls to the polls on Sunday. Somehow there's a problem with that, or cutting down the amount of time for voting early, or getting rid of voting by mail. It's a number of different things. Anything that they can do attacking and making it more difficult for people to vote is what's been going on. And that's what we need to address. And here's your call to action. Your call to action for the day is, and every week, is to make sure that you're calling your congressperson, your senator, or your representative, and telling them that you support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, H.R. 4, and you want to see it passed in its entirety. Every day, give them a call. Takes you about 5 minutes. Make that call. There's your call to action. They got to know that you're serious about this and that you want to make sure that they get it done. Now, there's been some movement, like we said, in the Senate. I'm not going to go on the particulars about that, but let's just put it this way. It's not passed yet. It's not a law yet. Until that happens, we need to keep at it, okay? There's going to be different sort of things that happen along the way, but until the president signs the new law, it hasn't happened yet. The money's not in the bank. Call your congressperson and let them know you're supporting it. Now, H.R. 1 is the For the People Act. And that's really the one that really kind of got the opposition, hair on fire. It basically makes it easy for people to vote. And one of the things that it does, it expands access to voting. It gives the automatic and same-day voter registration nationwide. And make sure everybody has 2 weeks of voting, all 50 states. It bans purging voter rolls for any reason. Once someone's registered, just keep them on the polls and let them vote. It restores full protections of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And that's what got purged back in 2013 by the Republican-led court. And it was a problem because once the pre-clearance piece was pulled out, that meant that states could start. And it wasn't just southern states, just to be fair. It was states and jurisdictions that had a bad track record of voter suppression through legal and extra legal means. And that's what we need to get put back in place. And H.R. 1 and H.R. 4 both do that. And also, it bans foreign money and foreign money loopholes that get into elections. It also provides additional election security through independent commissions to prevent gerrymandering. So the voters pick the candidates and the candidates don't pick the voters. They want to streamline that, make it the same across the country. And the last couple of items that it grants additional resources to states to replace voting machines, and also improves auditing and securing election results, a number of other different things. Funds all that and makes the laws all uniform across the country, so that everybody at least has a even playing field. Everybody has unfettered access to the polls. And if you're going to get people's vote, then you better come up with something that they actually want to vote for, not trying to prevent them from voting, or either trying to let the candidates choose the voters through gerrymandering. Anyway, that's it. So call to action, going back to it again, Aaron. What's our call to action? Our call to action is call your congressperson. Call him and say, I am supporting HR 1. I am supporting HR 4. Has the president signed it yet? That means you guys haven't done your job. You need to pass it. You don't have to get into all the, well, maybe this piece or that piece. No, pass it. Get it done. And that's what you have to insist and say, I'm watching and I intend to take action if that bill doesn't hit the president's desk in some form and his signature doesn't get affixed to it. So that's what needs to get done. What do you got to say about that, Aaron? Nah, we don't want to talk about that. What do you got to say? What do you got to say about voting rights? Voting rights are foundational, right?
Totally agreed. And it's important that we show up and cast our vote. We need to decide what our vote is prior to showing up. Get the intel, get the information, do our research, understand what's at stake, understand who's running and our position, and cast our vote.
Well, what if you got to wait 5 hours in line because there's only one machine? Are you going to be happy about that?
Hey, plan ahead. Plan ahead. Know the day.
And then organizations, they can't do souls to the polls, right? People say, hey, we're leaving from church. Everybody, we're going down to vote. We're going down to early vote. What's wrong with that? There's nothing illegal about that. It is fantastic if you give people unfettered access to vote. Let me tell you what we do in Virginia. In Virginia, they've even made Election Day a holiday. Federal Election Day is now a holiday in Virginia. You are off work. So you don't have no reason not to go. I don't mean stay at home and party. Go vote. If you want to party on Election Day, then vote early, okay? That way you got the day to party. But in Virginia, and that's what they're trying to do all across the country. Just give people an opportunity to freely express their vote without all these crazy things they're trying to put, trying to do. They're trying everything. And, they're also trying to say, well, even if they get past all of those things, now they say in these states with these voter suppression laws, we are going to take over the local election commissions so that even if they win, we want to invalidate it and say we won. It's not just, they want to make it hard to vote, then they want to fix the deal one way or the other. So it is important that we do the call to action. Voting rights are fundamental. We can't get George Floyd. We can't get more health care. We can't get infrastructure. We can't get any of the policies, you name them, if you cannot choose the people you want to elect in order to represent the policies you want to get done. So they are foundational. Put my hand right up here. Foundation. Everything's built upon the voting rights. You have to have the right to vote. And anybody who tries to get in the way of it, call to action, do what we got to do. I love talking about this. Just gets me excited, gets my blood pumping. Yes, I want to get out there and say, yeah, we got to get it done. We have all kinds of events and things that we're doing, trying to work with small business community, everyone, to let them know that they need to get this part done. Aaron, can I add any more to this? Is there any more I should say?
I can't think of a thing.
All right. Listen, we only got so much time. We only got an hour. So we only got an hour. We have a fantastic guest, too. We got a fantastic guest, a candidate who's running for the House of Delegates who's going to come on. Her name is Kecia Evans. But y'all just hold on. I'm not done talking, and neither is Aaron. We got one more thing to talk about. In Virginia, we have early voting has started. We have elections every year, and we have a big election this year statewide, don't we? Go on and put them up there. No, that's the wrong one. I want to see faces. Put the face. Yeah, there it is. Terry McAuliffe. I love Terry McAuliffe because Terry McAuliffe is high energy. He's going to say things to you. He's going to get you cranked up and pumped up, and he's going to do stuff. He may not do everything you want, but you can guarantee he's going to do something. He's going to do it with a lot of energy. So he's been the governor before, and he's running for governor again. Y'all need to get out there and vote early and get it out the way. Terry McAuliffe running for governor. And of course, we have the fantastic Holla Ayala, lieutenant governor. She getting it done. I've known Holla since before she even had any position. And she was getting it done then in Prince William County. And she still is. I like Holla. So y'all get out there, because it's not just because I like her, because she does actually get things done. And she is excited about getting things done. And she does it with a good spirit. But she's also out there pushing to get things done for folks who want to get the right things done in Virginia. Then, of course, we've got the man who's had his hands steady on the, on what do you call that, on the ship thing, the rudder, or whatever you want to call it. It's Attorney General Mark Herring, who is a current incumbent. I know back in 2012, man, when I was down in Charlotte with Attorney General, what the 28 one? This guy, when he first ran, he's been getting it done, and all the sort of stuff that people wanted their rights protected and various different things and issues that were of a legal concern. Attorney General Mark Herring has been out there doing those things, getting them done, and he's got a fantastic track record. And of course, we have all the local elections in the House of Delegates. Like we said, we got Kecia Evans coming on. She's running for House of Delegates. And we got all the rest of the folks who are out here running locally in Virginia. I'm telling you, Aaron, in Virginia, we don't get a break. So that's why we have to stay excited. We got to keep amping it up all the time because we got stuff to do. It ain't going to get done by itself. As my one of my coach used to tell me, he said, that dirt ain't going to put itself back in that hole. Y'all going to have to pick that dirt up, move it, and put it in the hole. It ain't going to move itself. So get the shovel and start moving. So we need to start shoveling and keep shoveling, because that's just the way it is. Because we don't want those other peoples in there ruining our day. I don't like my day ruined. So anyway, let me tell you, those are our candidates that are out there, and we're getting ready to bring on a really good guest. Not yet. I got one more thing I want to say before bringing Kecia on. No. I'm going to say one more thing, because we have to talk about this, because we're a small business. The infrastructure plan. Now, we had some bad news about infrastructure today. But that infrastructure plan, human infrastructure and physical infrastructure, is important to small businesses, important to our constituents. So listen, folks, don't give up. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but you can't be no ways tired. You got to hang in there, keep pushing those people. We got to depend on our folks to get what needs to get done, because there's a lot of small business communities that are in the community across the country that are dependent upon a lot that's going to happen in that physical infrastructure plan, and as well as the human infrastructure part. There's a lot of business acquisition things that small business will benefit from for that piece as well. So I'm going to leave at least 30 minutes for us to talk about other things. We got a fantastic guest coming, and she's going to be coming pretty soon. I think she may be here already. Okay, I know she's here. But I'm going to say one more thing. The American Rescue Plan, folks, it is still out there. It is still in effect. The Democrats did pass it. It is a huge plan for what, 1.2 or 2 point some trillion dollars. Paycheck protection program, funds still available. Economic injury disasters loan, EIDL, IDL for people who haven't talked about it. The shuttered venue operators and grant program, SBA debt relief, and also Restaurant Revitalization Fund, known as RRF. These things are still out there. Money has gone to your state. States in Virginia have already decided how they were going to use those hundreds of billions of dollars that they received. I think Virginia got something like 400 billion. It was a big number. It's a lot of money. And of course, all states got some of that money in order to keep people's businesses and to keep people employed as best we can. So if you haven't done that, if you have questions about that, feel free to contact the Small Business Caucus. We can direct you to the right people, or also call the SBA or reach them online. A lot of people don't call because it's tough getting through to people. But you know what? those resources are all online. They're easy to get to. So make sure you do that. You know, I already talked about the other things. So now I'm going to talk about our special guest. Yes, now it's time. Oh, yeah, it's time. You know, I have a friend of mine who I've known for a long time who's been involved in politics. And he's been getting stuff done working for a lot of different candidates. And he says, Mark, there's a fantastic candidate who's out there running for the House of Delegates in the 88th District. The incumbent who's been out there was not of our party, and he's not running again. And there's nobody running. And I heard some other folks were involved saying, we got to find some superwoman to get this job done. And guess what? Yeah, came in with her cape. She's like, I'm here. I live right here. I'm going to get this done. Her name is Kecia Evans. And let me tell you a little bit about Kecia Evans, y'all. Kecia Evans has a fantastic background. She's a wife. She's a mother of 4. She comes from a working class family. She's also a small business owner. Fantastic. We love small business owners. And she's also a military brat. That's my term. Now, I'm going to tell you, she's a military brat because I'm a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force for almost 30 years. They called us brats, and that's exactly what we were. You know, we grew up all over the world, all over the place, serving this country and serving in the Department of, well, we were kids, but still, we went where our parents went. Where my dad went. And her dad is a retired Air Force veteran, like I said, which also same as my dad. I was excited to hear that. And he's also a Union Railroad engineer, which is fantastic, supports labor. Let me tell you a little about Kecia. Kecia has served on Stafford County boards. She's also served with the NAACP. She's been chair of the NAACP Legal Redress and Criminal Justice Program. Also for Stafford County in the government, she's worked with the Special Education Advisory Committee. Fantastic. And she's also worked with the County Department of Parks and Recreation. And currently she's worked she's secretary for the Board of Zoning Appeals. So you folks, when you go out there and you see that, you'll see also at the bottom of there, you'll see her www.evansfordelegate.org. That is her website. Go out there and see who and what she is about, and even more so if in fact she says something that you don't get here or you want to check it out. But here's even what's more important. If you do want to support her, and she's on now, she's got a Act Blue thing where you can donate. Folks, I'm going to put your hands together for Kecia Evans. She is the
all right now
for the 88th District House of Delegates. And she's going to beat that Republican.
Thank you for having me. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, Mark, let me get in there. I want to talk about voting rights. Like, let me get in there. You guys are having so much fun. I was like, Aaron, let me in.
She tried to let you in. I had to keep holding her back.
Yes, I just love your energy, and thank you for that awesome introduction and all the accolades, right? But I can tell you a little bit about me, about the district, since you already told them about me, right? Yeah. My education and so forth. You know, 88, it's such a unique district, right? Like, let's really talk about it. I would have the opportunity to be the voice for 4 counties. So that's Spotsylvania. Yeah, I said 4 counties, right? So that's part of Spotsylvania, that's part of Stafford, part of Fredericksburg, and part of Fauquier County. It's like they took a little bit of everybody, right? And so it's really gerrymandered. It's a gerrymandered district, but it's so unique. And that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to have a candidate that understands that everybody comes from different walks of life, but you want a voice that is compassionate, right? And so that's why I'm that delegate. I'm like, I'm going to be in that seat. As I told the Stafford Dems last week when I was at a fundraiser, I said that I am not walking, I'm running. So I am running for office and I'm not walking. So I'm just so excited to be the Democratic candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Yeah, thank you. And so I love the topics that you were talking about, like voting rights and like letting people know how important it is to vote. Like we started early voting. So I always think when people who don't vote, you're actually silencing your voice. You're taking away your voice. You're taking away that right. And for the African American community, I can really say you have to get out there and vote, because this is what our ancestors fought for, right? They fought for this so we can have the right to exercise our voice, and also to be able to have people sit at the table, okay? Who can understand and say, hey, we need fair legislation here. We need to bring people up. So you need to have that type of delegate and that type of legislator to be like that, to understand, like, you know what? We may not all come from the same walks of life, or I should say, we may not have the same background, but guess what? We all can sit at the table. We all can eat. We may not eat the same thing, but at least we are all eating. And that's what my campaign is about. It's about fairness. It's about equality. It's about making sure Virginians have the same opportunity. Now, I always tell people it's going to be hard, right? 88, it's a tough district. It's heavily Republican, but it's okay. Before, when I ran in 2019, Jess Foster, wonderful lady, who's now a judge. She ran and she only lost by 3,000 votes. 3,000 people, right? That's not a lot of votes.
I heard she got 44% of the vote, right?
Yes.
In a largely heavily Republican district.
Yes. And so this is why it's this time in 2021, it is really important, because then there was an incumbent, Now it's an open seat. I am running against the Republican and a Libertarian. So, it's like an open seat, 3 people running. I have a chance to finally be the first woman. Okay. I'm going to say that again. I finally have a chance to be the first woman in this seat, but also the first African American to be in the seat. So that speaks volumes. It's 2021.
And you're going to be the first Democrat in more than 20 years.
Exactly. I was about to say, and I would be the first Democrat. Yes. So that tells you something, right? So we have to get out there, and we have to get out there and vote. My campaign, we're out here knocking doors, the phone banking. We having people just basically heavily invested and just like want to make sure that we Democrat get into this seat. We can sit out here and talk about everything, like anything. We talk about small business, what's going on, small businesses.
Okay. No. You were going to say something about small business. You can say it. I was going to ask you. Interrupt you.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say, I'm a small business owner. And so, after COVID or during COVID, for a lot of people, especially in the restaurant industry, the travel industry, a lot of people lost income. A lot of people lost hope because they were without. And we need to make sure as Virginia legislators that people have hope again, that people who've lost can actually regain and say, hey, we can pull you back out. Like we got you. And so that's the type of delegate you have and you will need. So we have to keep the trifecta that we have. We have to make sure Mcauliffe is governor. We have to make sure Ayala is in the seat. We have to make sure Herring is in the seat for the upper tickets. But the people who are running on the Democratic ticket for the House, we have to make sure that we get elected. So yes,
we need to get a supermajority in the House, because Democrats can do even more. They've done a lot over the last couple of years, but they can do even more, and they have to solidify that majority and keep it in place. What is it that we can do, either from the Small Business Caucus for other Virginians who want to help you out and people across the country? What can we do to help you? We can send you money, but what sort of things are you involved with now that we could help out with?
So send money. That's great. But what I need is bodies. Like I'd rather have bodies, than money. Yeah. People be like, no, you need to raise money, but I need people knocking on these doors and saying, hey, come on out. That's free. That's honestly the type of campaign that I'm trying to run. I can send mailers, I can send postcards, but let's be honest. Most people, when they get home, they check the mailbox. If they check the mailbox, right? They leave the stuff in there. I'm one of those that don't check my mailbox.
Especially that stuff that looks like it may be a bill.
Exactly. We keep that in there because nowadays everything is electronic. But I
Right.
really need people. I need people on the ground knocking doors.
Knocking doors.
People, yes. So phone banking as well. But I really, really need people knocking on the doors.
Let me ask you a question real quick. So, have you hired any people to knock doors on your campaign, and would money help you to be able to hire some additional canvassers and people?
So I can tell you that money will help me to hire canvassers. So right now we've had some people volunteer, but for the most point, donations would help get more canvassers, and then people can phone bank from anywhere in the country too.
How many doors have you knocked?
So right about now, we have knocked over about 3,000 doors so far. And our goal is we have 16,000 doors to knock from here to
get that done.
GOTV. So that's the win number. But, with limited people. And then we also have to think about people are still afraid of COVID. That Delta variant is out there. And now they have the Mu variant. So people are afraid, but we do have a couple canvassers who just going to go hard and knock doors. We hit just yesterday, we had about 7 canvassers and they knocked 1,000 doors yesterday.
Well, it sounds like you're in somewhat of a rural area too, in certain areas. So is it harder for them to get to the doors?
So that's another issue, with the only area that's not rural is Fredericksburg, but Spotsylvania, Stafford, and Fauquier, that's rural areas. So the houses are spaced out. So we're doing mailers for that. But for Spotsylvania areas that we could hit, like apartments and homes that are just being built, we're trying to knock those doors.
Well, you guys keep on knocking the doors, and if we can, encourage or get folks out there to knock doors, we've got some great door knockers in Virginia, some great professional door knockers that are really good. So if you're looking for people to knock doors, and there's some people who will get out there and support you, let us know. We'll talk to some of those folks, and if they can maybe come down, maybe it's only one day to get out there and knock doors. You sort of decide what the area is and see what we can do to support them and what we can get our supporters to do to either provide them with funds or other sort of resources in order to get it done. Happy to do that, Kecia. Tell us more. Tell us more. We're interested. This is good.
So we got the knocking the doors. We did the phone banking. We can talk about women's rights. We can talk about so much. One of the things that I do want to talk about is how this legislation in 2020 did criminal justice reform. Like they really, did some things, and, more things are needed. But the fact that we can talk about how small businesses are going to, or I should say people can become own small businesses and entrepreneurship through the marijuana. So, and how in 2024, you need to be ready, but you need to be ready in 2023 because it's basically going to be, it's going to take you differently, financial freedom. And so just want to talk to people about that and say, hey, just make sure that you are watching the legislation and watching, I think it's the cannabis board that they have, making sure that you are staying woke.
You got to stay woke from that. Matter of fact, I believe that legislation is with Senator Adam Evan, who is helping to move that forward in his committee right now. And also, the law that's been passed in Virginia that allows you to have up to 4 plants, and they've decriminalized marijuana up to 2 ounces for your personal consumption. But really, when we talk about legacy wealth and small business concern, it's about that retail, that distribution, and that growing market in Virginia to make sure, particularly people who are been traditionally left out or adversely affected by the marijuana laws that are no longer there. So talk a little bit about that and how you're going to advocate for that, because it sounds like you know a little bit about it. I'm all ears.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. I was so that's what I was talking about, the retail part. The more of the recreational smoking on your own, that's on you. But I'm more of small business, making sure that people in the community are aware of what is going on and how you can become an entrepreneur and how you can have financial freedom. But you just have to have the mindset and the will. And how you do that is by staying woke, just like what you said with the legislation that's being passed. And so I know in 2024, they say the doors are going to be open for retail. In 2023, they're going to start taking applications, but we don't even know the application process yet, right? So we don't know how much. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. I was just saying, it's 2021. They have to, and we're tracking it right now to make sure that equity is in the state laws that are passed. Talked to some fantastic folks up in Seattle and Washington, who's really on this point. The laws that were passed in New Jersey and New York at the state laws for cannabis, those states have very strong equity laws. When I say equity, it's for people who have traditionally not been able to benefit from the cannabis laws, but have been incarcerated or either locked out of other sort of things. So those are the sort of things, if you get in there, we'd love to know that you're an advocate and that we could go to you when you win as you're part of that process to make sure that people get their opportunities. This is
definitely
important.
You can also look on the congressional level. Look what Senator Cory Booker is doing with Chuck Schumer. They did the MORE Act, Marijuana Opportunity Act, and how they want to have more African Americans be invested into this. And they want to give small business loans out so people can like basically start their own business in this industry. So it's just something that people need to be watching. People need to stay woke so they won't feel left behind. And so I just think that it's really, really important to talk about it.
And the bar to entry can't be high, because a lot of places when they did it, the bar to entry was like, $500,000 and you need to have this, that, and the other. You're not going to get most people who are trying to get into business have $500,000 sitting around. It's got to be something to where the government is making sure those sort of barriers don't exist if people have the minimum qualifications in order to be in the retail portion of it, or either on the marketing side or whatever it is, in order they can benefit from this as small business owners. I agree with you.
And then also, people need to understand, like, even the NAACP supports it. So, you got to go for it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
what are the other areas that you're interested in? Tell us, we know you're big on that, but tell me something else.
I'm about to say, that's not the only thing that I'm big on now.
I know you got more. I'm looking at 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 742. I'm also big on, making sure we have equal access, like with the infrastructure, right? So out in my area, it's Spotsylvania, Fauquier, and Stafford. One of the things that I've been noticing when knocking on doors or talking to constituents is broadband. Right? Like they lack the broadband or the internet. I'll never forget, I talked to a constituent who told me that she literally had to get up, of course, every day, but get her child ready and take her children over to the school to where there was a bus with a Wi-Fi hotspot, to where that is how they were getting the internet. That's how she would sit there all day. And that's how her children would be educated. And to me, I was just like heartbroken. Like, are you serious? To where here, my children actually have the luxury of being in their home because we have Wi-Fi. We have it at home. And so it's just that disparity, like that. It's not fair. So making sure that the $700 million that Governor Northam promised for broadband actually will come to my area as well. So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. And then also healthcare.
By the American Rescue Plan, they gave the states that money on top of what the states were putting into it. There was a considerable chunk going to broadband for Virginia. Well, that's what the legislators wanted to do with it.
Right. And then also healthcare. I talked to a constituent down in Virginia Beach when I went to the Network Nova event, and I'll never forget when she told me, we have to make sure that we keep the care and health. And when she said that, I was like, wow, because during COVID, like, you've seen so much COVID-19 really opened up people's eyes as far as healthcare and how our system, it's not great. And so we need to put more into healthcare. And that deals with also women reproductive rights, right? Like talk about that, see what's going on in Texas. We want to make sure that doesn't happen in Virginia, making sure that women have the right to choose. And so forth. But then also just making sure women have the proper health care. When women have children, they go through postpartum. Some of them do, some of them don't. But for the most part, there's postpartum. And not everybody talks about that. So the mental health of after having the baby, is something that needs to be addressed and make sure that we are keeping the care and health that way.
Well, let me ask you a question. How did you get to be who you are? I mean, I know you're a military brat, but how long did you guys travel around the country? Did you travel around the world?
I'm going to say this. How I became the person who I am is because God built me this way.
Amen.
My life hasn't always been easy. I say I'm a military brat. And yes, I was a military brat. But when my dad got out of the military in 92, that's where I seen the real world. Okay. That's when all the luxuries, all the privileges that the military have, it went away. So I was like, what is going on here? We had to pay rent. Before we stayed in base housing, we stayed in the luxury house. I went to Dodge school. Dodge, that's Department of Defense school. But when my dad got out, I started going to the public school, and I was like, wait a minute. so
public schools,
right? So it was a little bit different. But I honestly, to say who I became, it's because of the paths that I went down, and the life lessons that I learned. I became the woman that I am. By the time I was 17 and a half, I had 2 children. So I was a teenage mom. I graduated high school. I walked across that stage in 1996 from Garfield Senior High School with my 2 children. So I was determined because society had already put me in a box. They X'd me out. They said, like, you would be impoverished. You would be not educated. You wouldn't get a higher degree. A matter of fact, you would actually be on welfare. You would be on public assistance. And so I was so determined and motivated and just filled with zeal that I was like, I am not going to be that statistic. What I'm going to do is I am going to graduate it. So I graduated on time in 1996, but I took it a step higher. I said, you know what? I will not be that statistic, and I'm going to get my degree. And so I got my bachelor's degree. I worked full time, still a wife, but I still was determined to finish my bachelor's degree. And then I took it even higher. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get my master's. And then I took it another step. I said, I'm not stopping. So I got my master's of law, and I finished that while campaigning in 2019. So I was campaigning. Yeah, I was campaigning. I was a full-time, employee. I was a small business owner as well, and I was a mom and going to school. So
you're a real estate agent too, right?
I said, yeah. So what I do is loan signings. So I am a notary, and that's basically what I have my business in is KSC Notary Services. And I actually close the deal to make sure that you get your, refi or your purchase. So that's what I do. That's my business. But before that, I've always had the entrepreneur. Back in 2010, I had a investigation firm. I was a private investigator. So I made sure, like, no matter what, I've always had a small business. And then after that, when I was running in 2019, I was a government contractor doing cleaning. So I had a cleaning service. So, they say you have multiple business until you have
multiple streams of income.
Exactly. So you have your one successful business. That's gonna bring you.
I gotta get you into the caucus.
So that's actually how
That is impressive. That is just absolutely impressive. You have people who are given so much and don't really are handed things, but you had to go out there and regardless of what obstacle that was put in front of you, it seemed like you were like, bam, bam,
yeah,
bam.
I mean,
all these obstacles down. We're moving ahead.
Yeah,
we're moving ahead.
Yeah, no, I just always was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I have to be a role model for my children. I have to let them know, like, you don't have to, I should say, you don't have to be a statistic. Mommy wasn't a statistic. You can be better than that. You are better than that. And that's what my parents always taught me. Like, I see my parents like roll up their sleeves and get to work. And so it's like, you know what? I was that child that I was so determined to prove, you know, and be like, I'm not that. And you're not going to write that. I'm going to write my own book. So that's basically the mentality that I have. And that's why I keep going, and to be a role model for my children and then other people, other children and other youth, and to let them know, you control your destiny. Don't let anyone else tell you that you can't. You turn that can't into can, and you keep it moving.
Keep it moving. And I think of the old African proverb, Sankofa, which means go back and fetch your roots. You can always look back to where you came from and what your ancestors and your parents and your fathers and mothers did from you and said, hey, they showed you how. They're there for you.
Most definitely.
You're a perfect example of that. That's the most inspirational thing I've heard on this show.
Thank you.
That is fantastic.
Now I'm gonna tell you one easy. I had many crying days.
I didn't say it was easy.
Right about this time, one made sure like it wasn't easy. But I tell you, there's a lot of days that I was like, Lord, please get me through this. And He did. And so I'm happy and grateful of all my accomplishments, and just happy that I can share my story with other women and with other teenage moms to say, hey, you can do this.
You can do this. And that's just a fantastic inspirational story. I'm going to have you come out after you win this election and do great things I know and we all know that you can do, and we're going to help you get there, to have you come and speak to some folks, because your story is going to inspire people. It really is. It's just a fantastic story. Aaron, I've been talking the whole time a little bit to Evans for delegate, and we call her Kecia. What other questions do you have for Kecia? Anything you want to ask her?
No questions. I'm truly inspired. Kecia, so pleased to meet you. We have a very similar story, both being teenage moms, and just to hear where you are today, see where you are today, and how you show up. It's just game changer. Your posture and your mentality, your attitude. I think that it is one that many women would love to just really understand the mindset behind the delegate Evans, because truly it is that journey that you have walked that have, created who you are today and how you show up. And I think that it's a powerful stance that you carry. So I'm really looking forward to the win, looking forward to those changes that you want to bring forward. Just really excited and pleased to meet you. So thank you for being here. And like Mark said, you brought a powerful story.
Powerful testimony. Absolutely. It's the sort of thing I think when you go out and have your what do you call it, your stump speeches, and you talk to people, you tell them things like that. There's people out in the crowd who can relate to that and say, hey, here's another person who hasn't given up, and here she is now running for public office. I can do this. Let me support Kecia and let Kecia support you. So
yes.
What else you got for us, Kecia? We're coming up on the 5-minute mark.
I was about to say, what I have for you is just Go to my website, Evans per Delegate. I'm asking for your support, your help. Yes, we need donations, but more than ever, we need bodies.
Right.
So if you're able to knock on doors, please visit the website, put in your contact information. My campaign manager or even myself will get in touch. And that's one of the things about me. Like when I see that someone is trying to reach me, I go out, I contact them. They talk to me. They don't talk to different people. So they talk to the candidate. Exactly, straight to the source. I actually had 2 people ask for signs, and I took it to them myself because that's the type of delegate that I am. You know, I want to make sure that you know me and you know who's representing you.
That's how you keep relationships, and that's how you get votes.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that door knocking, I'm pretty sure when you come into people's doors and the folks who I know are representing you are going to get it done. We just need to find out how we can help you in this last 30 days or 40 some days before the election. And it looks like you're going in the right direction. So let me ask you this. Have you got any of the coordinated campaign to work in your area at all?
Unfortunately, the coordinated campaign has not worked on my district. They are really invested into another district because that seat already has an incumbent.
Right.
So we want to make sure that they keep that seat, which is understandable. So, but it's okay because we're gonna do this.
They have to make choices. That doesn't mean that they don't love you, but they're just making their choices. But guess what? After you win this thing, put it in the bag, they will say like, we have another seat, and Kecia got it done.
Right. They're going to be like, she showed up and showed out.
Showed up and showed out and went through with the trophy, all the trophies.
Okay.
So you need to do that, Kecia. Stay right there with you. There's something about me talking to you and just what you said. You've convinced me that you're the right person for the job. And I know if you get in front of enough people, they are going to feel exactly the same way. I don't care where they're leaning, right or left.
Right.
If they hear your story and they hear what you're talking about, and I didn't feed you little questions. You were just coming off of this stuff yourself.
Right.
So that's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. That's why I was like, let me get in there.
It's like double dutch. Come in there. This is my turn.
Right. Exactly.
Let me get in there.
Double dutch in a long time. So
well, I'm sure. I mean, your spirit is there. I can feel it. I can see it when I talk to you. I know that there's a lot that you have to deliver, but you've got 3 more minutes to give people some more good stuff you want to say. I'm going to be quiet if I can. It's hard for me, but I'm not going to say anything. Go ahead.
I was about to say, I mean, we basically talked about everything. We talked about the campaign and how it's moving forward. And I did my ask. I just asked that people support me. But they also get to know that Kecia is a person who's compassionate and who understands that, like I said before, not everyone comes from the same walk of life, but that doesn't mean that we all can't be at the table together. And we just have to make sure that we understand that we are creating laws that are fair and just for everyone, for every Virginian. And so when you have a delegate like that, I think Virginians will prosper. And so I thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I want to come back.
We will have you back after the election. We will have you back. Or if you need to come back before the election because you want to say something, come on back, because these things sit out on Facebook and they sit out on YouTube, and we're going to start sharing them on other platforms, clips of who we talked to. So we're going to get it to folks. And Kecia, you've just done a fantastic job. I'm just
thank you.
Impressed to have you here. Now, let me ask you one thing, and this is kind of not really personal, but how old are your kids?
So my kids are 27, 26, 19, and 13.
Unbelievable.
And so I am a grandmother. I can say that, yes, I am a grandmother. So yeah.
You not look like that.
Yeah, thank you. I know everyone tell me, I thought you were in your 20s. I was like, I love you.
would have lost that thing. That is fantastic. And you just, whatever you're doing, keep on doing it because it's working for you. I'm telling you, it's working for you. Kecia, go ahead, say the last thing.
I'm gonna say, I do a lot of head rubbing. I'm like, Lord.
You've come through some things. And obviously you come through them well because you are no worse for the wear physically looking at you. You look very well,
thank you.
Younger than what you one would think.
Yes,
I'm just going to shut up. I don't want to mess it up, but I do this. It's time for me to do something else here that I need to do. Oh, yeah. We've reached that hour. Oh, we just had a fantastic guest. Kecia Evans running for the House of Delegates, the 84th District. And folks, could you be loved? Give Kecia some love as we will be back next week to talk to you with the Virginia Democratic Small Business Show live. And thank you, Kecia. Thank you, Lauren. We're about to get out of here. We're about to go. So see you next Wednesday.